Yeah. 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 So many lies that you hear from the net, they don't get her respect. She reporting the truth, not a check. You want an unbiased opinion straight from the chest, not a bit accomplice or someone here for a check. Tune in, these are thoughts from a lawyer on a mission who goes so hard it's like she works on commission. Trolls in the comments might say she tripping cause they lack the knowledge. They don't know they missing. Got a couple current events that you like. Wanna know about law from the eyes. Tired of all these blogs running lies because their agendas are disguised. Tune in to the intellect, cause I'm sure y'all missing all the facts of the case that she steady is gifting. Someone here for the people, man, it's so uplifting. If you ain't subscribed yet, then you just omitting facts.
Hello, everyone. It is Pam Esquire, also known as Your Law Intellect. Welcome. If you are new here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. Make sure you hit that like button on your way in to show your support, to let everyone know that we are on. We have a lot to discuss. We have a lot to discuss on today. Many of you guys have been asking me to weigh in on the TD Jakes saga that has been going on for the last year. And I told you guys I will go into the comments of other videos, but I will not come until there is a lawsuit, okay? Well, today, my friends, we have a lawsuit that was filed today. This is very recent because from what I saw, there has not been a summons issued, which means that the individual, Mr. Youngblood, who was sued by TD Jakes, has not been served as of yet. But we have the lawsuit. I'm sure he's probably aware that he has been sued. And this is what I will say is this. TD Jakes clearly has some very decent attorneys because they have crafted this lawsuit in such a way that it reads like a book. It kind of reminds you of the all the details that were in like the Cassie lawsuit with Diddy. It reminds me of that when I read it. So I am going to actually read it line by line. You know, a lot of times I just read the parts that I know is important. But even when I went over the parties, the way they described Mr. Youngblood, TD Jakes was like, oh, you want to talk about me? I'm about to tell the world about you. That's pretty much what it was about. So this lawsuit was filed based on a sit-down interview that he did with Dr. Larry Reed. Many of you guys are familiar. And he made some allegations about Jakes. We're going to go over what those allegations are in the complaint, per the complaint, not per me. Okay. We're just going to go ahead and talk about it in the complaint. So if you be so kind, hit the subscribe button. I do have it on subscribers mode only. So if you want to contribute in the chat, then you're going to have to subscribe to the channel if you will be so kind. Shay Bay said, Pam, you've been killing in these YouTube streets. Thank you so much for the kind words, and thank you for being a member for 6 months. Many of you have also just been gifted a membership. I try to do that so you guys can see and check it out. If you want to be a member in the membership, we usually drop small legal documents or things that I may not necessarily go live on. And I try to drop videos, and we also go live in there. So put the link in the chat for me, one of the mods, so that anybody that's interested can hit that link. Make sure you hit the like button. It's already 1,200 of you guys in here. Thank you guys so much for coming over here. I appreciate that. And we are going to get started. You know, I'm not going to tarry long. Again, this is just an allegation like any other complaint, like I tell you all. And we're going to go with the caption. At first, it has Thomas Dexter Jakes, who is the bishop over there at the Potter's House, and he also gives a nice bio in this complaint. So if you don't know who Thomas Dexter Jakes is, you about to know where he came from. You about to know how many books he wrote and how many awards he got before we get up out of this complaint. but it has against Duane Youngblood and Does 1 through 10, which basically means they believe that there are other people, presumably without me reading the entire complaint. I just read enough of it to know how detailed it is. Presumably, those does are going to be individuals whom they plan on adding through the course, perhaps, of their investigation or their discovery, who may corroborate this, say that they same thing happened to them, but we're gonna see. So they're going to start out with the nature of the action. So this is kind of just a general summary of what we're going to get into. The lawsuit sounds in tort of defamation and civil conspiracy to commit defamation. They said civil conspiracy. The underlying story in this case depicts a carefully planned effort by a convicted criminal and those acting in concert with him to rewrite history in order to deflect blame and accountability for his own reprehensible and criminal conduct and to publicly smear a renowned and eminently respected religious leader in a blatant and explicit attempt to extort him for millions of dollars. Is that not a paragraph? That's just paragraph 2. This lawsuit is intended to bring that scheme to a halt, to end the extreme emotional, physical, and spiritual toll defendant's conduct has caused Bishop Jakes. For all of you guys, yesterday, the viral thing was Jakes was up in the pulpit and he, in the middle of what he was speaking, and he had some type of a medical crisis, and they say he's fine now, but he definitely didn't look fine in the moment. He started shaking on one side, and the first thing I said was, that looks like stress. And in this complaint, he's saying that he has been dealing with stress. It's taking a toll on him because of his conduct. To set the record straight so that the world understands the patent falsity of the accusations and to restore Bishop Jakes' reputation. And you guys know, typically I don't go over the parties because it basically says where they are, but they were even detailed in the parties. Okay, so we're going to read that as well. These are the people that are in the caption that I just read, which is plaintiff, Bishop Jakes, and then Mr. Youngblood, and then all of the does. Plaintiff Bishop T.D. Jakes is a world-renowned spiritual leader, global philanthropist, author, film and music producer, and the founder of the Potter's House Church in Dallas, Texas. He is a U.S. citizen and a resident of Dallas, Texas. Defendant Duane Youngblood is a registered sex offender in the state of Pennsylvania and a 2-time convicted felon related to sexual abuse of children. He is a U.S. citizen and a resident of Pittsburgh. He didn't put, that Duane Youngblood was an author or anything. He just put all of his convictions and stuff in here. On information and belief, plaintiff alleges that defendants Does 1 through 10 inclusive are other parties not yet identified who have acted in concert and agreement with Youngblood in order to commit defamatory conduct against plaintiff and have committed acts in furtherance of such wrongdoing. The true names, whether corporate, individuals, or otherwise, of Does 1 through 10 inclusive are presently not fully known to plaintiff, which therefore sues said defendants by such fictitious names and will seek leave to amend this complaint to show their true names and capacities when same have been ascertained. So basically, they letting the world know and putting you on notice you might have next. On information and belief, plaintiff alleges that at all times relevant here too, each of the defendants acted in concert and agreement with each other for the objective of intentionally committing defamatory acts against plaintiff with full knowledge of all the facts and circumstances, including but not limited to full knowledge of the violative conduct at issue and the damages to plaintiff caused thereby. So they go into the jurisdiction because you have to show that the jurisdiction and venue is the appropriate venue. And so they're saying it's diversity of citizenship because Jakes is in Dallas, is in Texas, and then you have Youngblood who is in Pennsylvania. So that's diversity is the reason why they're able to bring it in this federal venue. And in order to file in federal court, you have to have damages or be alleging damages at least exceeding $75,000. So if you have anything that you're trying to sue for less than, you can't even be in this venue. So at minimum, he is asking for over $75,001 at minimum. Plus, and that's excluding the interest. So let's get into the factual allegations. You guys okay? You guys with me? Moving too fast? Okay, make sure you guys hit the like button. It's over 3,000. Make sure you hit that like button, okay? I'm gonna try to get through it because it's a long document. And then if you have any questions or if you do any super chats, then I'll go ahead and read those when I get through part of this. So we'll be here all night. Bishop T.D. Jakes becomes one of the most prominent and respected pastors in the United States and establishes one of the largest churches in the United States, the Potter's House, Dallas. So now for those of you guys that are not in the church world and don't know who Jakes is, I don't know how you don't at this point. But if you don't know who he is and his background, you about to hear because he did a whole bio. Okay. You know how when the pastors come in and they about to preach and they do their whole bio and they sit back and try to look humble? That's what's happening right now. You know how they sit back and they like, yes. That's what's about to happen right now. Bishop Jakes is the visionary, charismatic, and devoted senior pastor of the Potter's House Church in Dallas, Texas, which has a global outreach and congregation exceeding 80,000 persons, a motivational speaker, an entrepreneur, a best-selling author of 30 books, a producer of faith-focused music and films, a Grammy Award winner, a global humanitarian, and one of the most prominent and well-respected pastors and religious figures in the United States today. In 2009, for example, Bishop Jakes was selected to give the sermon at St. John Episcopal Church, dubbed the Church of the Presidents, across Pennsylvania Avenue from the White House on the morning of President Obama's inauguration ceremony. And then we're going to get back to his humble beginning. From his humble roots as the pastor for the 10-member storefront church, Greater Emmanuel Temple of Faith in Smithers, West Virginia in the early 1980s, to leading the now more than 30,000 member Potter's House Church based in Dallas, Texas. He founded in 1996. Bishop Jakes has devoted his life to guiding others towards spiritual prosperity. He has inspired millions all over the world to live purposeful and spiritual lives. And the initiatives he and his organizations have developed over the years have helped millions all over the globe. For his countless contributions all over the world, Bishop Jakes has been honored and recognized by some of the most influential global organizations and media outlets. He has been called, quote, America's best preacher by CNN and Times, quote, perhaps the most influential Black leader in America today, end quote, by The Atlantic, and regularly appears on lists of the most respected and influential leaders in America. He has been a spiritual advisor for the last 3 presidents. He is the recipient of numerous prestigious awards, including the NAACP Image Award in 2011. And Bishop Jakes has been married to his wife, Sarita, for over 35 years and is a loving husband, father, and grandfather. Throughout his more than 40 years in the ministry, Bishop Jakes has maintained a stellar reputation for his faith, morals, ethics, and above all, devotion to his family and the local and global community he has built all over the world. That, my friends, is who Bishop Jakes is. And then he gets into Youngblood. Let's talk about Youngblood and see what he has to say about Youngblood. I wonder if he's going to talk about his books and his ministries. Let's see what he talks about. Defendant Duane Youngblood is convicted on multiple occasions for sex offenses involving minors. In stark contrast, Duane Youngblood is registered as a lifetime, in bold, that means forever, sex offender in the state of Pennsylvania and is in bold, currently under supervision by the state's Department of Parole with parole number 590JF. They put his parole number out there in this pleading. Youngblood has repeatedly and uncontrollably sexually assaulted young children since at least 2002. On all occasions, Youngblood has pleaded guilty and admitted to his heinous crimes. In 2006, at the time pastor of a church in Homestead, Youngblood was first arrested on charges of sexual assault and corruption of minors and other charges. In that case, he was accused of sexually assaulting a 15-year-old in 2002 while counseling the boy. The teen sought counseling from Youngblood because a cousin had molested him, according to a police affidavit. They done went and looked into his background and pulled up documents. They have done a Freedom of Information Act and got all the information about his criminal background. See, Jake said he don't got to sit back and do an interview. I guess he said, I'm just going to put it all in the document. I'm going to put it all in the pleading. As part of a plea deal, Youngblood was sentenced to a year of house arrest and 7 years of probation. Part of the plea deal prohibited Youngblood from counseling children. Despite this conviction, Youngblood was unsatisfied. In 2014, Youngblood was charged with inappropriately touching 2 teen victims in one instance on about 25 occasions while he was counseling the young between 2009 and 2011. With respect to that victim, counseling sessions in Youngblood's church office began when the victim was 16 years old and ended when the victim was 18, at which point the victim told Youngblood he no longer wanted to participate in counseling, according to the criminal complaint. In another, Youngblood had sexual relations with the youth over a 3-week period. Youngblood pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 16 to 48 months in prison in 2015 and 3 years of probation. Nevertheless, while on parole, the Youngblood conspires with others to harm and profit from attacks on prominent Black religious figures, including Bishop Jakes, as more fully elaborated herein below. Whew. Okay. Just give me 1 second. Please hit that like button on your way in. Thank you so much. This is a lot. Now we're getting to the crux of the lawsuit. Youngblood uses the reach of Larry Reid Live to publicly blame his own abhorrent and horrific sexual abuse of minors on others, including Bishop Jakes, by accusing them of grooming, molesting, and sexually assaulting him decades ago. Larry Reid, you have made a pleading. You have made a pleading. They done put you know what? People that don't even know him, now they about to go over there and click over. He about to get more subscribers and likes and stuff about to go up. On October 28, 2024, Youngblood sat for an over 2-hour-long interview on Larry Reid Live, LRL, an online video podcast hosted by Larry Reid that boasts of having over 150,000 subscribers on YouTube alone. The October 28th episode of LRL was broadcast live to tens of thousands of online viewers on the Larry Reid Live YouTube and Facebook accounts. The episode was titled, quote, Larry Reid Live interviews Duane Youngblood, the abused became the abuser. And they got the link below in the footnote as footnote 1. Youngblood began his interview by misleading viewers about the circumstances of his convictions and incarcerations. Youngblood lied to LRL's viewers about the circumstances of his 2015 conviction, claiming it was only because he was communicating with the minor when he was not allowed to. The actual truth, which Youngblood concealed from the LRL audience, was that he violated his parole not because he had simply communicated with minors when he was not allowed to, but rather because he had been caught inappropriately touching 2 teen victims during counseling sessions between 2009 and 2011, and of engaging in sexual abuse over a 3-week period with the teenage victim. I probably should have put this trigger warning on here. Hold on a second. Let me see. Okay. The interview later turned to Youngblood's new claim about how the source of his becoming an abuser was his own abuse at the hands of pastors and religious figures he encountered in his youth. After detailing instances of his own father sexually abusing his sister and of his abuse at the hands of other church leaders, Youngblood turned his ire on Bishop Jakes. From the moment Youngblood brought up his allegation about Bishop Jakes roughly an hour into the interview, he and Mr. Reed spent almost the entirety of the rest of the interview on Bishop Jakes and Youngblood's claim that Bishop Jakes tried to groom and actually abuse him. Youngblood's story about Bishop Jakes on the October 28th episode of LRL was that when the now 58-year-old Youngblood was 18 or 19 years of age, Bishop Jakes, after talking to Youngblood for 2 hours at the home of an elder clergy lady where Bishop Jakes was staying while supporting a local church revival program, wrapped his arms around Youngblood and tried to kiss him. And then they have the actual excerpt, I guess, from the interview that says, after sitting there and having this long discourse with him, this is supposed to be Youngblood talking on Larry Reed's platform. I finally looked at my watch and I'm like, quote, oh my goodness, I gotta go. I gotta get the car back to my mother. She's gonna kill me. So I said to Bishop, I got to get up. And I got up from the table. He got up from the table. He walked around toward the way. I had to exit quicker than I got over there. And when I started to walk past him, he pulled me to himself, wrapped his arms around me, and tried to kiss me. And in that moment, I literally died. Next, according to Youngblood, Bishop Jakes called Youngblood the following morning. In the morning, I step into our bathroom and my home phone rings. My mother answers the phone and she says to me, Duane, it's Elder Jakes. Jakes and I get on that phone, and when I get on that telephone, I can hear water. He is sitting in the bathtub, and in that thing, he says to me without any hesitation, quote, there's 3 things I need you to do. The first one is, when I come to Pittsburgh, you're going to be the only person I sleep with. The second one is, you can't sleep with anybody else because I don't want to give my wife anything. And thirdly, I will take care of you the rest of my life. Youngblood then went on to describe how he did not tell his mother what happened, but that she made him go to church services that night where Bishop Jakes not only preached, but called up Youngblood to the pulpit to read for him. Youngblood ended his story by claiming that there is so much more to me and Bishop Jakes and my family and Bishop Jakes, and that the absolute destructive sexual damage, they put that in bold, but this thing was so extremely damaging. And that is another quote. At the bottom, they have a footnote which has ID, which is it, and that just means that you refer to the same citation that was above, which is basically the conversation that he had with Larry Reed. For those that, want to know what it means when we put that in the pleading. Later on in the October 28 LRL episode, Youngblood described an encounter with Bishop Jakes, where years later he had to drive Bishop Jakes and his wife to a hotel after a conference. According to Youngblood, he accompanied Bishop Jakes and his wife back to the hotel room, and after Mrs. Jakes went to sleep, Youngblood confronted Bishop Jakes and asked him, quote, why did you do what you did? To which Bishop Jakes responded, quote, my stock was rising and I would have had sex with anybody at that time, end quote. Oh my. So that was also allegedly a part of the interview. Less than a week later, on November 3rd, 2024, Youngblood returned to LRL for part 2. So there's another part. And they got the link, and it's a hyperlink. You can just click on there and get over there to the interview. And it was called Larry Reed Live Interviews Duane Youngblood. The Abused Become the Abuser in Part 2. Youngblood doubled down on the same false story, and this time he made sure that all of the LRL viewers knew that he was not just accusing Bishop Jakes of trying to begin a sexual relationship with him, but rather that his story was one of sexual abuse. When pressed by Reed to further describe how his allegations that Bishop Jakes groomed him was predatory in nature, Youngblood made it clear that he was accusing Bishop Jakes of attempted sexual assault. When it comes to Bishop Jakes, when I was sharing the story the other day, I'm just running through the story, but I want to make sure people are very clear. I said that we were sitting at a dining room table and I looked at my watch and said, quote, I've got to get up and get out of here because I've got to get my mother's car back to her. And then in bold, it says, but what may have been misunderstood is that Bishop Jakes got up, came around that table, and positioned himself in the corner that I had to walk past. When I was walking past that corner, he grabbed me. Then back to regular font. There is no reason, if you're going to just give me a hug as we're leaving, go to the door with me and let's hug it out and let me go out the door. We are not at the door. We are still in the dining room. And in bold, he is in the corner, grabbed me to himself, looked down into my face, and then tried to bend his head down to kiss me on my lips. That is not you didn't get what you wanted to get. And then they got the footnote to let you guys know where you can find that in the Larry Live interview. Youngblood then doubled down and described again the phone call he claimed he had with Bishop Jakes, just as he did in the October 28th interview, stating in no uncertain terms that to him, that is absolutely forcing your position, your idea onto that person. In part 2, Mr. Reed also makes clear exactly what Youngblood was accusing Bishop Jakes of doing, stating at the 39-minute mark that Bishop Jakes violated and groomed you. And Youngblood doubled down on his claim that Bishop Jakes did this, quote, to Youngblood, quote, because his stock was rising and he would have slept with anybody, end quote. For this part, Reed went to great lengths to try and bolster Youngblood's credibility, claiming in part 2 that Youngblood feels, quote, honest to Reed, that, quote, it doesn't feel that you're mad, you don't seem mad at all, and you don't feel like you're trying to get anybody back. You just telling the story, end quote, to which Youngblood nods and agrees throughout. Youngblood's intent and motive for making these allegations would be made absolutely clear with the exorbitant financial demand weeks later, as more fully elaborated herein below. So he did ask for some money. So this must be what precipitated this lawsuit. Okay. Youngblood's accusation on Larry Reed Live about Bishop Jakes are false, and he knew it when he made them. From start to finish, Youngblood's tale of grooming and attempted sexual assault at the hands of Bishop Jakes is patently false. Bishop Jakes never kissed or tried to kiss Youngblood, never cornered him or forced him into any situation, sexual or otherwise, and certainly never told him that he wanted to sleep with him or had any conversations of a sexual nature at all with him. The interaction described by Youngblood during his LRL interviews on October 28th and November 3rd never happened, period. Indeed, the very context and nature of Youngblood's accusations render them unbelievable. Youngblood, having served years for molesting and sexually assaulting minors that he himself was supposed to counsel and mentor through his church in a desperate attempt to rehabilitate his image and build a new ministry for himself. His playbook is clear. Accuse what seems to be every other prominent church leader he has ever met of grooming and preying on him, and then blame them for his own criminal predatory conduct after he has been finally released from prison as a 2-time convicted felon and lifetime registered sex offender. Indeed, his blatant lies to LRL's viewers about the circumstances of his own convictions and incarcerations are proof that this is all just one big lie to try and rewrite history for his own personal gain. You know what? He is really, I see why if he was going to do a lawsuit, he would pick Youngblood, in my opinion, Jakes, in my opinion. It just feels like there's nothing about what, if you want to compare, like he's done the credibility aspects of this is a good person. Jakes has done this, that. He got Grammys. He's been praying for presidents. He's the spiritual father for the last 3 presidents. And you look at that compared to the life of Youngblood, who would a jury really believe? And that's what I think their bank is bank. If you're gonna pick anybody, and I ain't saying it's anybody else, Jake, so don't come for me. I'm just saying this would be a perfect person to go against just because of what his background is. Because I know some of you guys in the chat are listening to what he was accused, what he went to prison for, and all of that. And you looking at it like, why is he on there talking about anything? You know what I'm saying? So when you look at it from that perspective, if you were going to roll the dice, this would be the person you would try to roll the dice on because of how they're so set apart. They're so different on how their lives are and how their lives turned out. But yeah, let's continue. Youngblood's October 28th and November 3rd appearances falsely targeted and attacking Bishop Jakes go viral. Just as Youngblood hoped, his October 28th and November 3rd appearances went viral. Part 1 was over 120,000 views, making it one of the most viewed LRL episodes in history. So they've been over there looking at the videos and everything over there, even though it has been posted for less than a month. And part 2 has garnered over 25,000 views since it was posted on November 3rd. Moreover, clips featuring Youngblood's false story about Bishop Jakes posted to the Larry Live YouTube account attracted tens of thousands of more views. The LRL interviews were also posted to other Larry Live social media accounts, including Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, where they garner hundreds of thousands of additional views, as well as to Larry's website, LarryLive.com, where they tallied even more views. The spread of Youngblood's false allegations, as expected, did not stop with just Larry's social media and online platform. So it must be some other people that made these. They got links to a lot of people down here. Look at all of those. Look at all the footnotes of all of the links that they are putting on. Of course, this just scratches the surface because a lot of people did try to review that interview. For example, Newsbreak, which boasts over 26 million monthly readers, published at least 5 separate stories on Youngblood's accusations against Bishop Jakes. And Youngblood's false accusations were republished by other YouTubers and TikTok influencers to hundreds of thousands of additional viewers. All told, it's likely that over 1 million people have been exposed to Youngblood's lies about the bishop. So they got clicks. Monica Johnson pick. You made the pleading. We got at Ice Drip 3. You done made the pleading on TikTok. They got your link down here. The next part talks about Youngblood retains an attorney with a history of filing frivolous lawsuits against prominent Black celebrities and proceeds to try and extort millions from Bishop Jakes. What? Incredibly, the defendant's malicious efforts to smear Bishop Jakes' reputation was only part of the plan. Prototypically, of course, their motivation was also deeply rooted in immediate financial gain. Days after the second podcast on information and belief, the defendants retained a lawyer in New York to represent Youngblood in a blatant attempt to money grab. By letter dated November 15, 2024, a lawyer purporting to represent Youngblood demanded that Bishop Jakes pay Youngblood $6 million in order to resolve this matter quickly and privately. Otherwise, Youngblood would bring a lawsuit against Bishop Jakes for sexual assault and harassment. See, this is kind of my issue with this. My issue with this is that oftentimes you do let the other party know your intent to sue. Demand letters are not something, they're labeling it as extortion now, which is just going way too far off to the left. What you do oftentimes to avoid protracted litigation, which is going to cost money on both sides. If you know you did something wrong, or you know that there's an issue, or you just want this thing to go away so that it doesn't end up being a protracted litigation, or if it's a celebrity, sometimes they just don't want to be involved in litigation. They don't want to sit for depositions, whatever. And you give them the opportunity in a demand letter. You tell them what you're alleging, and you say, you can settle this for this amount, but this is only for settlement purposes. If we go and I file a lawsuit, I'm going to ask for more. This is a way for us to settle the lawsuit. So I get what they're saying, because $6 million is a whole lot of money. But just to let everyone know, because I've seen this a few times lately, especially with the Diddy lawsuits, people are trying to say that it's considered extortion, when we as attorneys, it's not uncommon for you to give demand letters. You file demand letters most of the times. It's okay when you do it in auto accidents or dog bites, but I guess in these situations, you're like, it's extortion. No, it's a demand letter. Either you say okay or you ignore it. You don't have to respond to it. You can wait for the lawsuit. But in this instance, it looked like Jakes was like, oh, okay, you ain't got to sue me because I'm about to sue you. That's what it sounds like. Otherwise, Youngblood said he gonna bring a lawsuit, okay, for sexual assault and harassment. The motivation of the demand was clear: pay millions of dollars. Otherwise, the podcast strategy and other similar tactics of attempting to publicly harass and shame Bishop Jakes would continue. Fundamentally, federal criminal law punishes blackmail. You see what I'm saying? Like, this just, y'all doing too much with this. Like, demands is something. I'm sure these attorneys have done demand letters before they file a lawsuit if they do plaintiff's work. But nonetheless, this is what they're saying. In this case, they're alleging that this is blackmail. Anyone who either demands or receives money or any other valuable thing under the threat of informing or as consideration for not informing against any violation of U.S. law is committing a crime. So most of the time when you do a settlement, like even if you do a demand, you're going to have a settlement agreement. Most settlement agreements have in there that you can't talk about it. So they're kind of playing with, how there is a criminal statute, obviously, for blackmail. So they're throwing it in there and saying it's blackmail and extortion. Further, both the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, 18 PACS Section 3923, and Federal Criminal Law, 18 U.S. Section 13, punish attempted extortion, such as the money grab, which is no different than an old-fashioned robbery attempt. Here, the selection of the attorney. Who is the attorney? Wait. Oh, did they get blackballed? Wait, here the selection of the attorney was part of the scheme because Youngblood needed to obtain counsel who was either familiar with or experienced in tactics to bring sexual assault claims decades old that have no merit and or have no relief under the law. For example, the same attorney commenced an action in California against the rapper T.I. and his wife Tiny Harris, accusing them of sexually assaulting a woman in 2005. In August of 2024, the U.S. District Court Judge Sherilyn Peace Garnett dismissed the lawsuit. The rapper stated that these allegations were false and were part of many salacious allegations put forth in order to extort money from them. The same proverbial, playbook is at work here against Bishop Jakes. However, Youngblood miscalculated Bishop Jakes' inclination to fight back. He said he is not the one or the two. Isn't that Blackburn? Allegedly, isn't he? I know right now in one of the Diddy lawsuits, for those of you that haven't followed it, he's waiting, from my understanding, because UMG and a bunch of other entities that got roped into this these Diddy allegations, they went after him for sanctions for attorney fees. And when they went after them for the sanctions, in their pleading, because I think I went over that in a video, but in one of their pleadings, they put all the times that he allegedly, they said that his cases were frivolous or whatever. But I'm just assuming, okay, it may not be you, Blackburn. I thought they said you represented Tiny and them too. So, well, Antoine Strickland said it too. That's just what it sounds Make sure you guys hit the like button, please. Okay, let's go. Bishop Jakes brings his action to hold Youngblood accountable for deliberately spreading his manufactured story of sexual abuse. Youngblood spread knowingly false accusations about one of the most respected and prominent religious figures. You guys see how this is going with the wording and stuff? He's respected, he's prominent. This is looking bad. And he did so for the most morally corrupt reasons, to rehabilitate his image, explain away his own criminal and horrific sexual conduct, and ultimately to profit significantly. The financial harm Youngblood's knowingly false accusations have caused Bishop Jakes are monumental and devastating. Bishop Jakes has been the spiritual rock of millions of Christians all over the. Y'all gonna make me vomit. Like, okay. Like, God, okay, you that guy, Jakes. Goodness. Bishop Jakes has been the most spiritual rock for millions of Christians all over the world, particularly in the African American community. Youngblood's viral allegations that Bishop Jakes groomed, preyed on, and sexually abused and assaulted him, then a young minister, have tarnished Bishop Jakes' reputation. Hundreds of thousands, if not more, have seen and heard Youngblood's accusation, and because of the lies Youngblood and his co-conspirators have told to bolster his credibility, those viewers are likely to believe Youngblood's knowingly false story. In addition to, and even more devastating than, the millions of dollars in reputational harm Youngblood has caused. So he is alleging he's damaged millions of dollars. Youngblood's lies have put in jeopardy the critical philanthropic missions Bishop Jakes spearheads, and has likely impaired significantly the benefits that the recipients of such efforts receive. And Youngblood's intentional and malicious lies have taken a substantial emotional and physical toll on Bishop Jakes. On November 24th, oh, y'all just wrote this, huh? They will work. On November 24th, on yesterday, the day before he filed this action, Bishop Jakes suffered a medical crisis on stage in the middle of his Sunday service in front of the entire church. And then they have the link for you guys to go see about his medical crisis. No, I'm not going to act it out. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be serious here. Bishop Jakes believes with all his heart that actual victims of sexual abuse should be treated with the utmost respect, kindness, empathy, and sympathy, and that true perpetrators of such abuse should be held accountable for their actions. But that is not the case here. Youngblood has used and abused the might of social media and the legal process to re-victimize those he preyed on and harmed, and to make knowingly false accusations for his own personal and financial gain. Men like Youngblood must be held accountable for their abuse of the systems and for setting back those with legitimate and real allegations of sexual abuse. Bishop Jakes brings this lawsuit to hold men like Youngblood accountable for their shameful acts and to set the record straight. The first claim. So those were all of the factual allegations. And the first claim is libel per se against defendant Duane Youngblood. And on October 28, 2024, and November 3rd, Youngblood gave a live interview on the Larry Live show in which he accused Bishop Jakes of grooming him, of sexually assaulting and abusing him, and over other predatory conduct of a sexual nature. The shows were titled, y'all know the titles by now. In addition to general accusations of sexual abuse against Bishop Jakes, the October 28th Larry Live broadcast also includes the following specific statements by Youngblood about Bishop. It says, the first one they document is, after sitting there and having this long discourse with him, I finally looked at my watch and I'm like, oh my goodness, I gotta go. I gotta get this car back to my mother. We already read that, so I'm not gonna read that again. Jakes and I get on the phone. So it's the same comments, basically. Jakes got on the phone, and when he got on the phone, you could hear water, and he was sitting in the tub. And then he says, well, I got three things. The first one is, when I come to Pittsburgh, you're going to be the only person I sleep with. Second one is you can't sleep with anybody else because I don't want to bring anything to my wife. And the third one is I'll take care of you for the rest of your life. There is so much more to me and Bishop Jakes and my family and Bishop Jakes than the absolute destructive sexual damage, but this thing was so extremely damaging. And in addition to general accusation of sexual abuse against Bishop Jakes, the November 3rd Larry Live broadcast also includes the following specific statements by Youngblood about Bishop Jakes. When it comes to Bishop Jakes, when I was sharing the story the other day, I'm just running through the story, but I want to make sure people are very clear. I said that we were sitting at a dining room table and I looked at my watch and said, I've got to get up and get out of here because I've got to get my mother's car back to her. But what may have been misunderstood is that Bishop Jakes got up, came around that table and positioned himself in the corner that I had to walk past. When I was walking past that corner, he grabbed me. There is no reason if you're going to just give me a hug. So we're leaving. Go to the door with me and let's hug it out and let me go out, out the door. We are not at the door. We are still in the dining room. And he is in the corner grabbing me to himself, looking down into my face, and then tried to bend his head down to kiss me on my lips. That is not a quote, you didn't get what you wanted to get, end quote. When I got home the next day, what I learned by Bishop Jakes' phone call to me was what he thought of me, because he said there's 3 things that I need you to do without hesitation. There's no long buildup or nothing. So it tells me that in that conversation I had with him, his observation of me made him believe that what he was getting ready to share, I would go with it. That means he had thoughts about me, about my sexuality, my identity, all of those things before he even made the suggestion. And so he suggested to me, 1, you're going to be the only person I'm having sex with when I come to Pittsburgh. 2, you can't sleep with anybody else because I don't want to bring anything to my wife. And 3, I'm going to take care of you for the rest of your life. To me, that is absolutely forcing your position, your idea on the person. The full interview were posted, the full interviews were posted to the Larry Live YouTube and Facebook accounts and to the LarryLive.com website. Clips of the interviews featuring Youngblood's accusations of grooming, sexual abuse, sexual assault, and other predatory conduct were also posted to the Larry Live YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. All of these posts went out to the worldwide audience and were viewed hundreds of thousands of times. Youngblood's statements were of and concerning Bishop Jakes. Youngblood's statements on October 28th and November 3rd episodes of Larry Live, individually and taken as a whole, intended to convey and were understood by viewers as conveying a factual allegation that Bishop Jakes groomed, sexually abused, sexually assaulted, and engaged in predatory conduct of a sexual nature with Youngblood. Youngblood's statement on the October 28th and November 3rd episode of Larry Live are false and defamatory. Youngblood's statement on October 28th and November 3rd of Larry are libelous per se, and that they expose Bishop Jakes to contempt, ridicule, and tends to affect Bishop Jakes in the profession as a trusted person and religious figure, and accuses Jakes of engaging in unlawful conduct. Indeed, the accusations that Youngblood has made about Bishop Jakes are damaging and damning as anyone can make about a prominent pastor and spiritual leader. By publication of this statement on October 28th and November 3rd episodes of Larry Live, Youngblood caused harm to Bishop Jakes' reputation. Youngblood published this statement on October 28th and November 3rd episodes of Larry Live with actual malice, and that he was aware at the time of publication that the statements were false, or at minimum had a high degree of awareness that the statement was probably false. So basically, when people say malice, people use malicious in how we, I guess, generally describe malice, but malice is not what we will say like the way that you would normally describe it. So they describe malice as basically you were aware at the time that you said this that it wasn't true, or at minimum you had a high degree of awareness that the statement was probably false. So even if you didn't know it wasn't 100% false, you knew that it was a high probability it wasn't true. In addition to knowing his statements were false when he made them, became them because he was a firsthand witness to his interactions with Bishop Jakes and knows that he was never groomed, sexually assaulted, sexually abused, or preyed on in any way by Bishop Jakes. Youngblood's statement were also made with reckless disregard of the truth. For example, Youngblood had financial and other motives to lie, as evidenced by his demand for millions of dollars from Bishop Jakes and his attempt to rehabilitate his image and recast himself as a sexual abuse victim instead of a perpetrator in order to revive his ministry. Youngblood is a convicted felon and a sex offender. Youngblood's claims are inherently improbable, in particular his claims about the follow-up conversation with Jakes. Youngblood's false and defamatory statements about Bishop Jakes were made in furtherance of and to fit within the preconceived storyline Youngblood needed in order to rehabilitate his image as a sex offender and felon and to demand and extract millions of dollars from Bishop Jakes. Youngblood was caught red-handed lying about the circumstances of his criminal convictions during the October 28th interview with Larry Reed, and in his demand letter when he changed his story to be that he may have been 17 rather than 18 or 19 at the time of the alleged incident, and Youngblood conspired and coordinated with others to levy these false attacks on Bishop Jakes. So this is the thing. I sound like the Judge Whitaker on YSL. This is the thing. Because this is him Youngblood making these accusations against Jakes, this is going to come to credibility. And so because he is saying how great he is and how jacked up he is, I don't even know how far he really felt this lawsuit was going to really go. And I say that because the only way for real that well, I ain't gonna say the only way, but my initial thought process would be if Youngblood actually had other people, because they're saying that there's John Does or conspirators or something that may be trying to say other things or may be helping to bolster these false accusations. So this is what they're alleging in this complaint. So I'm just going by what they're alleging. If there are other people, they may not be sex offenders. They may not have done time. They may have went to Harvard and be one of these judges up on the bench. We just don't know who they are. So if that is the case, then some of these does, he would actually need probably some other people that can bolster it. So if he had other people that can corroborate what he says in these does that they're alleging, it may be an issue. But as far as if it stays one-on-one with him, I can understand why, because I've seen some of the comments in the chat where you guys are like, he did what? He did what? When, where, which way? How, why would he even get on there and talk about it? He's not that witness. And I think to ask for $6 million after the fact, after you went on there and spread everything, is a little different too. Like after the fact, you asking for $6 million. But generally speaking, you know, I'm saying as an attorney, we do ask for demands before we file, and usually it's comparable to what we're filing with, but we let you know, oh, the price goes up if I got to spend my money. The price goes up if I got to start turning my clock on and billing people. But I'm trying to get rid of this case before it happens. If there's one way, if you agree that it may be some fault, and that's not necessarily for this type of case, but if you agree that there may be some fault, so we can avoid protracted litigation, like I said. But this is very interesting. Was this, again, I think it was known because I saw maybe the New York Times, was it the New York Times? One of the New York Daily News, one of those New York Posts, I think maybe, they had this lawsuit already before I pulled it. So this was something that was kind of known, and when you read it, it reads, and this is why I said I akin it to Cassie, not from, you know, the same type, but the details of it and the comparisons of it is with an expectation that us as the public is going to read it. So what does this make Youngblood look like as far as the accusations that was said? Now, the issue that would happen and that he would have to deal with is, obviously, this is litigation. So if this man again gets an attorney, and there are allegedly some does according to this lawsuit, and then also you have what's called discovery. Discovery is I have subpoena power. I can subpoena people. I can subpoena whoever, whatever. It can be people, like, say for instance, somebody settled a lawsuit. This is just a hypothetical. Somebody settled a lawsuit at one time. Usually the settlements, like I said, will say you can't talk about it, you can't go to the press, you can't talk bad about me. It'll have all that in there. I'm not admitting guilt. Usually they don't admit liability in the, in the settlement agreement. They don't admit liability. However, they'll let you know it can only be disclosed because they can't stop the court of law from telling you you got to come in and say whatever. So now you're subjecting yourself. So I'm going to assume that he's very confident in himself, because you do open yourself up to discovery. Because this man, because of how he's portrayed him in this pleading, they did a FOIA request. And if they just wrote this because they didn't add it in there, I'm not going to say they just wrote. They probably already thought about, started over the weekend or something. And the incident happened yesterday because they added that in there. But they did their research on him to make sure that he looked like the most uncredible person ever to be making these accusations against this high prominent man of God. This is what they did. But again, if Youngblood says, I'm going to stick it out, and he got a couple of dollars, or he got an attorney that's willing to fight, then he may go for the gusto and be like, I'm noticing of this deposition for this person, that person, that person, that person, that person. Or I'm subpoenaed. Now you're opening it up. Now they'll probably do a protective order or something so that nothing can be filed, to pleadings, because usually we'll get some discovery will become public when you attach it to motions. Like if you do a motion for summary judgment to dismiss the case or something like that. But if you have, like we're seeing in a Diddy case, if you have a protective order, you can't put any of that information out for the public to get. That's why we get redactions all through it. So this is very interesting. So let's go on about the Youngblood's defamatory statements were accompanied with malice, wantonness, and conscious desire to cause injury. Youngblood purposefully made the defamatory statements heedlessly, and with reckless and willful indifference to Bishop Jakes' rights. Bishop Jakes is therefore entitled to actual, presumed, punitive means you should be punished, deterrence for you not to do anything like this again, or to deter other people not to do this, and other economic damages in an amount to be specifically determined at trial. Then they got civil conspiracy. So now we're going to get into what these civil conspiracy is. Ooh, y'all got me working today. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. I see the super chats. I appreciate that. You said take a drink. All right. You guys have some very good questions in there, and I don't know if I can answer all of them because some of the stuff is more factual, and I don't know Youngblood and I don't know Jake, so I'm just going by what's in the document. Again, this is allegations, just like with Youngblood. It was an allegation when he was on Larry's platform. The second claim for relief is civil conspiracy against all defendants. On information and belief, Youngblood and those acting in concert with him, i.e. the co-conspirators, worked together to publish and broadcast the false claim that Bishop Jakes groomed him and sexually assaulted Youngblood on a podcast reaching over 100,000 persons, knowing that making such false claims on a podcast that reaches such a broad audience of listeners would harm Bishop Jakes. To wit, co-conspirator number one falsely claimed in sum and substance during the podcast that Bishop Jakes had engaged in settlement discussions with Youngblood regarding his claim. Ooh. Co-conspirator number one. Larry, are they calling you a co-conspirator? It's like falsely claimed in sum and substance during the podcast. So, on information and belief, this statement by co-conspirator number one was done intentionally in order to give credence and patina of credibility to Youngblood's false statements, even though co-conspirator number one was aware that efforts by Bishop Jakes to pay Youngblood to avoid him making such statement was knowingly false. So he's alleging he never reached out to Youngblood for to give him $1. The first podcast occurred on October 28, 2024, while Youngblood and his co-conspirators made false statements to harm Bishop Jakes in that broadcast. On information and belief, the defendants aimed to maximize their efforts by launching a second broadcast on November 3rd, 2024, meant to sharpen and clarify the false statements for maximum impact. For example, Youngblood in Sum and Substance attempted to more clearly target his false claim of sexual assault against Bishop Jakes by stating in Sum and Substance that Bishop Jakes restrained him and forcibly kissed him, as opposed to the first podcast interview where Youngblood alleges that they embraced at the end of an hour-long, wide-ranging conversation about faith and life and parents. Some of you guys are gonna have to let me know if these facts are accurate, because I didn't watch the entire interviews. Due to Youngblood and his co-conspirators' defamatory acts, Bishop Jakes has suffered general and specific damages in an amount to be established at trial. On information and belief, Youngblood alleges that defendant and each of them have committed defamatory acts and or acts in furtherance of against Bishop Jakes as alleged above, which were willful, intentional, and malicious, which subjects defendant and each of them to liability. His prayer for relief: Jakes is asking for actual and compensatory damages exceeding $75,000, as well as interest, reasonable attorney fees and costs as allowed by law, punitive damages as allowed by law, and such other and further relief as the court deems appropriate. He is also demanding a jury for all the claims, and he got him some attorneys straight up from Pennsylvania, New York, and Washington. He got some big hitters, some heavy hitters. Sheesh. All right, let me go through these real quick. Mrs. C said, thanks for all you do, Pam. I love this channel. High intellects. Welcome, LRL viewers. Yes, welcome, LRL viewers. I didn't know you were over here. I got to pay attention. Thank you so much for the super chat. I'm Unique said 20 pages of rubbish should be a 2-page lawsuit. That's it. That's from I Am Unique. Said you were doing too much. At Caramel Snowflake, you said, I'm done with these churches and their buffoons as pastors. Jesus just come back. We is tired. Thank you for the super chat. H-Town Lawyer said, is Bishop Jakes claiming intentional infliction of emotional distress? If so, that might explain yesterday's episode. He has to show a visible and provable physical injury, correct? Well, intentional, hey, H-Town Lawyer, I ain't seen you in a minute, girl. Good to see you. And you're over there in Texas too. But yeah, so with intentional infliction of emotional distress, and as you see, I just went through the claims, and that's not one of the claims. It's extreme and outrageous behavior. So it's just the average person would say that is outrageous, you know. So it's a very high burden for intentional infliction. Maybe negligent infliction of negligent infliction of emotional harm is a little bit less, but he didn't put that in the complaint. He just did the defamation. So Bring the Mess said, how many now think it was fake? Kathy, thank you so much for the super chat. T-Rain, thank you for gifting the 5 memberships. Yes, please hit the like and subscribe. Okay. Bring the Mess said, but that man always confessed he didn't lie. Then so why lie on Jakes? This is the year of reveal. That's from Bring the Mess. He said he don't got a reason to lie on Jakes. T-Rain, thank you for the super sticker. Springflower said, good evening to Pam, the intellects, and the visitors. Hey, thank you for supporting. Forever T said, the collection plate just got to my pew. Thank you, Forever T. I appreciate it. Empath said, tell about your time with Youngblood, only Mr. Jakes. That's from Empath VB. Latrice, thank you so much for becoming a member. And did I miss something on here? I seen it. Thank you so much, Larry, for the super chat. Thanks for walking us through this information. Thank you so much for supporting the platform. I appreciate that, Larry. And for the people that came over here from your platform, I appreciate that too. People were DMing me and had me over there on TikTok like, Larry wants to know, he got a question. I'm like, who? What? I appreciate that. So yeah, what questions do you guys have? I think I pretty much said what my thought process was. I think that Jake's, I don't know if this was a strategy session, because honestly, if you read it, it would make people not believe what Youngblood said because of his past. But I would have to presume that before Youngblood sat down, he kind of knew that there were going to be people that were like, listen, we don't care what, you done the same thing, you know, or you done worse, rather. I ain't gonna say the same thing because it was supposed to be some kissing or alleged kissing or tried to kiss or something. And perhaps he knew that. And what if he does have people, because they said those, there are other people that may corroborate him. So this is going to be very, very interesting. Carmel said this is too much. Thank you so much, Wanda. She said this was good. I mean, I'm glad you appreciate it. I don't know if it's good, but I'm glad you appreciate the information. So thank you so much. You have a good night too. So right, Youngblood past was crazy. You can't believe that dude trying to destroy Bishop Jakes. I'm glad they coming after him for defamation. That's from Gary Hines. It's a lot, you know, and I just think it's interesting that if other people have made allegedly the accusation, but Larry, thank you again for the super chat. He said, I have that phone call recorded when his fixer called to find out what amount Youngblood wanted. I also have all evidence from other accusers. That's why he ain't filed against me, because he knows better. That is from Larry. Larry Reed said he ain't the one either. He said he has recordings, and you calling him a co-conspirator, number one, and he has information that shows otherwise. That's what he said. So he said he didn't say anything without receipts. This is getting spicy. Larry, you think you'll be called to testify? You seem like you have some information, sir. Doctor, you think you'll be on the witness list? I just want to know when the trial gonna be, because I need to get my space over there in Pennsylvania, because I'm gonna get me an Airbnb, because I'm gonna come to this trial. I am unique, said Larry. Said he ain't the one or the two. And Lord have mercy. This is getting spicy. Good Thais. Very interesting. So you guys don't have any more questions? I mean, I've said what I could. I've waited on both sides. I see why he brought it against him, because if you look at, I think it was very methodical for the attorneys to be very clear about how great Jake's was, and the $6 million demand did not help this situation, because it does look like somebody who just came out of prison and now you asking for $6 million, and you've already put the information out here. So I guess perhaps he's saying he got more information. He only gave us a slither, and I guess he may come back with some more information. And so he told him, I'm not going to say the rest. I was very reserved when I was out on the platform. And if you just go ahead and pay me this amount, then I won't file a lawsuit. But if you decide that you don't want to pay me, then I'm going to sue. So he said, well, I got one better. That's what Jake said. I'm going to get you before you get me. And that's pretty much what he did. So now he's trying to control the narrative. And then you couple that with what happened yesterday. This is interesting. I am blessed. I have a question. What if they go to the mediation, and can you go back to discovery if they don't reach a settlement? So if you go to mediation, sometimes you don't settle it. Sometimes federal court typically does mandatory mediation. So you do have to go. Most cases do end up settling. Only a small percentage, 2-3 go to trial. People ain't trying cases like that. That's why you have some attorneys been out here for years and they've never tried a case. But so mediation, facilitations, arbitrations, things like that are dispute resolutions is what we alternative dispute resolution is what we call them. A lot of people do those. But even if you do that, you usually don't go to mediation till after discovery, like after you take depositions, after you. So what happened now is once they issue a summons, because I didn't see a summons issued then, because he cannot serve this without one. So once he gets a summons, he'll probably, serve Youngblood, or maybe call the lawyer that called him and said, hey, will you accept service on behalf of your client? Because you were going to sue us. So you're going to take, on behalf of the client. And then if he serves them, then they'll have their initial conference, and we create our own plans, because we'll know based on the amount of discovery we may need, meaning depositions, written depositions, written type discovery requests, production of documents, subpoenaing documents, and all of that. So we'll kind of meet and confer and try to figure out our own discovery plan. And like usually I might do like 8-9 months in federal court of discovery. And then during that time is when all of this stuff happened. Then we'll probably see some back and forth, because they're going to paperwork them to death. Okay. That's the thing about civil. They're going to hit you with them documents. They're going to hit you with them documents. If you don't pay, if you don't turn in them documents they ask immediately when the time is up, they probably going to do a motion to compel. They're going to, you're going to be in court. It's going to be some back and forth. That's the thing about civil, is it's a lot of paperwork. Now they try to control it in federal court, where like you only have, sometimes they'll tell you can only take so many depositions, or like the interrogatories, you can only do up to 25 questions or 20 questions or whatever. And you got to ask permission to do more. So they try to control it. But yeah, it's a lot of things you can file in, to paperwork you, what we call paperwork you to death. That's what they'll do. So, which comment? I can't see. What is it? Oh, is Larry up? Larry, you still on here? Did you want to come up? Larry, I'm not trying to make this pleading though. So if you come up, I'm gonna need.
Larry, don't get my wife soon.
I keep it cute. Nah, I'm not gonna do. I'm about to get off here in a minute. Got me nervous. They be talking about she went on Pam Esquire, the law intellect, and he basically said, I'm gonna play this tape right here, and play the tape that was AI and distorted. That's what they're gonna say. It was AI and distorted, and it wasn't authenticated. Yes, I know Larry has his own platform. I know he has a very large platform. If I didn't know, I know because of this pleading. This pleading mentioned it a whole lot. You click the link. Add me to no lawsuit. They put me in a footnote. Click on the link. Give me more subscribe. That's why I said the fact that I think they boosted it up so much of how jacked up this person is, and that's why they had no problem putting the links to Larry's broadcast in there, because typically you're not trying to keep repeating the defamatory content, but they didn't have a problem repeating it, which to me is like, okay, they think that people are not going to believe it based on who this guy is and what he's accused of, which, I think that if before he came out, I would hope he weighed that possibility. That's it. Said Larry walks in decency and order. Okay. I don't see him. I think he's gone. But anyway, I don't see any more questions. Thank you guys for the super chats. I hope you guys thank you, Martha, for the Cash App. Shelby, thank you for the Cash App. Deidre, Vivian, and Lagretta, thank you so much for the Cash App. I appreciate it. But all minds clear? All minds clear? Once you attend one deposition, after more discovery is done, can another deposition take place? Typically not with the same person, unless you have a continuing deposition where you didn't finish. And then they only allow you so much time. I think you have like 7 hours total to do a dep. So if you go past that time, you can't. So once your dep is done, your dep is usually done. So that's it. They said the man is very articulate and convincing. So, all right, y'all. I got to get up out of here. Thank you guys so much again for coming over here. Again, thank you for shouting me out, Larry. It's a couple of people. See who else gonna go. I know somebody else gonna go live. Let me see. I think Thais is going live. Thais from the Thais Report. He's about to go live, I'm sure, and talk about it. Oh, get the deal. All right, y'all. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys again for coming over here. You said what? Oh, he said drop the link. Okay, let me see. All right. All right, Larry. I wanted LRL because he said there are 6 more people. He ain't gonna say that on here. What you talking about? Hold on. Time's out. Nah. Ooh, Rora, you guys are a trap. My God, today. Hey, Larry.
Hello, Pam. You one of the smartest people on the internet.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's why I sent people over here because I'm learning as I'm watching you.
That's so nice of you. I appreciate
but
that.
This is what I wanted to say. I asked Duane Youngblood about the 6 million, and he said he don't know why that's in the New York Post because there was no dollar amount in that. There was some vague conversation around like some negotiating or something of that nature. I didn't read the letter. I only saw the top part of it. He sent me a screenshot of the top part of the letter that was sent to Bishop Jakes.
Okay, so that 6 million was actually in the lawsuit because I just read the lawsuit. I didn't read the New York Post article. They put 6 million in the lawsuit.
Right, but he said he don't know where that comes from. He said that wasn't even there. I don't know if that was, remember the Cassie conversation, and they were saying that she asked for 30 million, but then I didn't see it anywhere. But it was said. But anyway, he said that this is what Duane said. I don't know what is what, but he said that there was no dollar amount even created. Also, when they said something about that I said in this complaint, what I said was a lie about someone calling from his camp, and I said this on my platform, and they asked about what dollar amount that Youngblood wanted. I felt to record the call, and so I have that recorded with the voice of the person who called and asked that is a member of this team. Okay. So I don't know why they did not properly inform that lawyer before he put that lie in there. There's that.
Do you know who Youngblood's lawyer is that reached out? Was it?
Yeah, I never talked to his lawyer, but I know that it's the same lawyer that represented that boy that accused Diddy, and he was
the one that represented Jones. Okay.
Yeah. Another thing. Some of the things that they're saying in the lawsuit, I can tell they didn't really watch carefully because some things it's a little off. I mean, but a complaint is just that. You told us that. You told us that it don't really mean nothing. Now, what I don't understand is why Jakes will even file this, because now what's going to happen, and I hope I'm not put in this outside of my name being in the complaint.
But you'll get subpoenaed. You're going to get subpoenaed.
That's what I'm saying. But that's not going to work for nobody.
You're gonna end up. I can't see outside of how you wouldn't be a part of.
Yeah, this happened to me before. But
Okay.
it doesn't go well for nobody, because when it comes to telling the truth, I'm going to tell the truth on all sides.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is, there's a part of me that wonders about these recent accusers. And let me say this before I say this. If somebody was violated and the person that violated them got some money, give them some money, they deserve it. That's number one. But the statement that I want to say is, I just don't know if these people telling these stories, is it 100% about saying what is true, or is it 90% that and 10% you want a paycheck? And if that's the case,
And you're referring to the people that there's allegedly, maybe perhaps some other people that are making accusations as well.
yes,
Those are the people.
yes. I'm not just talking about. I'm not excluding Duane, but I'm not talking about Duane. I'm talking about the whole, because there's more. There's 6 people that I have talked to over the last 3 years, and some of them have been paid more than one time. They've re-upped them, a few times, and I will tell first, last name, when I spoke to them, give them the recordings, and tell them the amount they said they got paid and when, and not just from the victim standpoint, or the accuser standpoint, but also from the standpoint of the people who carried the bag to them. But see what? Right. Because see, Jakes don't have nobody faithful to him. and most of these leaders don't. So the people that you're actually working with and who's working with you, they don't have your best interests.
But how do you know, like, the veracity of these people? Like, how do you know that these people really work for Jakes, or that what they're telling you is really the honest truth, if you weren't
Because,
like there to witness it?
because Jakes have stood in his pulpit and called these people up to the pulpit and testify of the closeness of their relationship.
Mm.
So it ain't what they told me how close they are. Jakes told us all how close they are.
But being close to them don't necessarily mean they paid them, right? I mean, a lot of this stuff is just
Nope.
he said, she said. So all of this stuff is hearsay and it's alleged. We
Yeah.
don't know. It's gonna
Yeah.
be them against
Yeah.
them.
That's exactly right. But
Mhm.
but if you have said something and you said it to me over the past few years and you've connected to that Jake stuff, I recorded it because I don't trust none of y'all. Even the first conversation with Duane called me from prison, I recorded that. I don't trust any of these people, because what I realize is that these people do not have integrity. And I mean, not the level of integrity that I think you should have this was what I think. But when Jenks initially heard of this interview, it wasn't even 48 hours when I was called and was asking what Duane wrong. I said, I don't know.
And
I
you
don't
know,
know.
like, for sure, this person works for Jakes, or this can be a rap.
But listen, let me
I
tell
don't
you.
trust nobody calling talking about anything. So I'm just
This is the same person who I have dealt with before, in between Jakes and somebody else. This is not the first rodeo. This is the person who has dealt between me and somebody mad at Jakes, accusing Jakes before. So this person has paid other people, and I've been in between them and the person. So I know that this person works with
messy
Jakes.
for me. My goodness.
I know their real name and both of their aliases names that they use to walk these brown paper bags to these people.
Do you understand though, like, if people will look at Youngblood in a way, like, why would you be the one to bring these type of, like, I get, it sounds like you were trying to show the how a predator becomes the predator because they were preyed on. Like, I get the,
Mhm.
what you were trying to deliver, but do you understand how people, I'm part of people, will kind of look side-eyed at him like,
Yes, and that's the
"You ain't
reason
the
why.
most credible
Well,
person."
I wasn't trying to do nothing. It was just his story that he wanted to tell, and he wanted to start off with that. Kendall was in there. When he called before, right while I'm in studio, he said, "I want to start off with this," and I said, "Okay." I said, "I can ask you anything about that." I said, "I don't want to probe." He said, "Yes, ask me anything." So that interview and the second interview, I asked him very direct questions about what he did. I believe that there's enough evidence scientifically and around in the world of behavioral therapy that shows that sometimes there are situations where people are done a certain way, then they turn around and repeat. That does happen. It's not the norm,
It does.
but it does
Mhm.
happen. So that's why I was open. I was open to that. I was really open to that. But like I said, the whole time I was telling them, which is the reason why they ain't coming at me like that. One of the reasons I said, this is his story. It sounds believable, but we do not know. But it does sound believable. And that's why I just let him tell his story. And I didn't connect it to these other things that I know from other people because that's their story. So I'm not going to put myself in the middle of that. That's why they can't do no lawsuit towards me because I know how to do my darn job.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that he was telling his story. But I am open to helping anybody. Whatever I need to disclose or say, I would, whether that's Jinx or whether that's Duane or any of these other people. I'm going to tell the truth.
So how is Youngblood feeling about being sued? Was he expecting this, or was he going to file a lawsuit first?
He thought, in my opinion, I think they thought that they will hear back from Jakes and have conversations, and this will never make it to court. But they were going to file if things didn't go whatever way they wanted to go. But Jake's done what probably they didn't even think that he would do because it's, in my opinion, it's not smart to do. Unless they know somebody that's going to block him from subpoenaing. I can't say a word. How you say it, Pam?
Subpoenaing. You said it correctly.
Yeah, I can't help but say
Stop
that.
him from getting
But I
subpoenaed.
wouldn't
Yeah.
have done that because the stories alone, even if they're lies, it stains you for the rest of your life. I've been lied on this internet. It's a stain in certain communities forever. So
Lied
you
on
know.
to
Yeah, but you ain't
lied
lied
on.
on the way you had to take folk to court and sue.
No, I mean it was close, but it just what ended up not being worth it. I weigh my cost benefit analysis, and if it's
Yeah,
not worth it, I'm not
yeah,
gonna do it. But I didn't realize how treacherous the internet and YouTube can be. I really came on here thinking I'm just gonna educate the world, and then
yeah.
I came on here. They was like, "No, she ain't really licensed. She unauthorized practice." I was like, "Who me? What?"
I could have Googled and find that out that you legit. But
No, they
but
were doing the
I
most.
I I if you are innocent of something, sue somebody that's talking about you. I mean, if they lying, sue them. I mean, y'all have seen me do it. There's several cases that all of my either a default win or a regular win. Every single case I've ever been involved, y'all can look it up. Sue somebody if they lying on you. But if they ain't lying, and that's the thing that concerns me. Granted, it's everybody telling their story, but one of these people connected to Jake's, I have the evidence right now.
Mhm.
So what if they subpoena that person?
So let me ask you this though, Larry. Why, if he had already done a couple of interviews, why do a notice to sue after you've already done a couple of interviews? Is it that he's going to come back and he's perhaps may say more than what
Yes.
he said before? Did
I'm
you
glad
say?
you asked me that. Yes. He didn't tell everything.
Oh,
He didn't tell everything. He told he didn't tell everything. And then the other two guys, his brother, that was his armor bearer for a while, and the Tim Anderson person. The third interview was going to be all three of them together. So this is the reason why they put that does 1 through 10, because there's a line of them.
So they sitting back waiting to amend that complaint and add whoever on there.
Yeah.
They called you co-conspirator number 1?
Yeah, I saw that. They need to be a little careful about that.
Make you feel?
I don't care. I mean, I know what the truth is. I want no conspirator. I was just the platform they use to tell the story through, because they know it would get to where they wanted to get. So, and I knew how to handle that because of the lawyers that I've had around me for all these years. So.
Okay. All right, Larry. Thank you so much for coming up. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you so much for what you do, because
let me make sure nobody has any question for you if you don't mind, before I get off, since I never had you on here before.
I've watched though. I've been in your bushes for years, at least 2.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I've been in your bushes for a while.
Okay. They said Larry's smart. Okay, y'all ain't coming with no questions. Okay.
I mean, the evidence is in my track record. I mean, you can feel however you want to feel about me, but my work you cannot spot. So all of you guys that don't like me, you cannot like me, but what I say is the truth. It always pans out, whether it's on social media or in the courts. It always pans out. So you can hate me, but what I do is impeccable. So there's that.
And I actually know a couple of your attorneys. They're great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a couple of great attorneys.
Yeah. And so this is why I say what I say, and I want to say this again. If they are innocent and somebody's talking about you, sue them. But if there's any way that what they're saying could be the truth, just don't do this, because I'm just concerned about how discovery is going to go for Jakes.
You can't sue everybody though, Larry. That's like, especially out here on YouTube, you just stay in court. You have to wait. You spend a bunch of money, and then what? Because half these people don't even have money. So what will be your point? That's what my situation. Sometimes people have done it for principle.
Yeah.
So I get it.
That's why I did it.
I ain't no principle person. I like all my money. Okay. So I'm gonna sit up there, whatever. As long as it ain't affecting me like that, I don't care. Now, if it starts affecting me, then we might have a whole different game going on.
Yeah. But Ray Bishop saying, if Larry believes TDJ is guilty and there is proof, I know he's guilty and there's proof.
First of all, this is not, hold on, Larry. First of all, this is not criminal. This is a civil case.
Civil.
So there is no guilty and no innocent when it comes to civil case. Either they find you liable for what the claims are or not liable. So that's the wrong terminology.
Oh, wow.
So,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you don't want to use that. That is why the assistant for Kevin Hart, she won a lot of her claims on anti-SLAPP, but she has not won the one yet on the defamation. Not to say it won't happen later, because when she was on Tasha K, she used the word guilty instead of liable when it came to the sex tapes, when the lady on the sex tape had actually sued Kevin Hart civilly. But she said, no, the court found him guilty and the case got to go on. But she was meaning, like, I knew she meant civilly. She just didn't know what she was saying. And guilty implies criminal. And so the courts will say, when you use these terms wrong, in that case, they were saying that, it may have been that's defamatory.
I am so glad.
So you have to be very, very careful using liable, and civil is liability. That's it. There's no criminal connected to it. When you use guilty, just be very, very careful. Just a little, nugget.
That ain't no little, that's big. I need to know that. But to what he's saying, I have proof of something concerning one person that reached out to me that's presently in my hand, and there's another one too. So I know that, but I do not know. That's how come you never heard me say as it relates to Duane's story. I just say you're believable, you don't seem malicious, but I don't know what the truth is. But I do know as it relates to this other stuff, because I have the evidence that of what they claim went down. So I have that.
But personally, I do recall you saying, and this was something that I respectfully disagreed with when you did say you come across quote honest. Like that's what he can come across believable, and his story can be, but honest was just kind of like I think some of us was looking like honest. This guy, So I think the wording that you
Yeah,
use,
I agree with that. I mean, that was the wrong word. Yeah, I agree with that. But what I meant was he didn't seem like that he was. I just didn't get that he was trying to get him. He was telling his story.
You didn't think that he was doing it with a malicious intent or like a ill will, like I just want him to be destroyed, like to destroy him. But I
No.
mean, you had to know if you come out with these type of allegations that it's not gonna. What he thought he wasn't gonna go viral, he went on your platform.
Well, he knew. I told him. I said this. I told him. I said, look, the conversation we're about to have is going to go around the world. I said, are you ready for that? I had that kind of conversation with him.
Yeah. So I don't know how true that would be to kind of say like he didn't seem like he wanted anything to kind of happen to him. He's just telling his story, just nonchalant. I just woke up and said, "Let me tell my story." Because if that's the case, then you can go and make your own YouTube with 5 people on it and just say, "Hey, I just wanted to get my story out." But to specifically go on a platform with as many subscribers as you have and as many viewership as you have, then you knew it was going to end up. People were going to recycle it, go on TikTok, click it, clip it off, and all. I think he had some inclination that that's what may occur or what. And then you come back later and say, well, I won't come with 3 if you just pay the money. I can see them trying to spin that in a way, even though, like I said, lawyers do it our way. Ray said you didn't answer his question. So he said, if Larry believes TD Jakes is liable and there is proof, why encouraging him to drop lawsuits that could lead to his exposure? It can prevent new victims, right? So basically he's saying if you believe that he's done some of this stuff that people said, why would you encourage him to drop the lawsuit when exposure can happen? Like if he stays in this lawsuit, I know you're not really trying to protect him. I think you're saying that it wasn't the wisest thing maybe for him.
There you go. That's it. That's all I'm saying. It wasn't wise. That's why I said what I said. I'm going to be fair to both sides. I remember from the very beginning when I was talking about Jakes concerning how he was handling Carlton Pearson and how he did him. He got in the pulpit on Christmas last year and addressed it. And I said it was stupid to address me over the pulpit. That was stupid. I'm going to be fair. I mean, because I don't need for him to do that, and he shouldn't have done it because it just made him look guilty, and then he kept doing some other stuff after that.
I'm saying guilty.
It's just my point of view. So yeah, I mean, yes, my man, liable.
Right. I'm saying guilty. We not no criminal. All this stuff is civil. Okay, so Sherry said, how do we know that Youngblood wasn't brought to the kingdom for such a time as this? Whatever is done in the dark shall come to the light. What did he have to gain since the damage is already done? And Sherry, I know he hopes he gets a lot of jurors that think like you. You know what I'm saying? This is the joy of everybody having their own opinion, and this is what voir dire is going to do, which is when you question the jurors and you try to get those people. His attorneys will try to get those people that are just like you, that feel like he ain't got nothing to gain or nothing to lose. He wants to really try to help people understand the psychic of someone who actually does these types of things. That may have been his underlying motive. He just has to prove it to jury of his peers. So
yeah, and I see somebody asking me, did I reach out to LaToya? Jamal? No.
LaToya Odom. Okay, that's the lady that was on the video on the viral.
I didn't reach out to her. Y'all, I don't really normally reach out to people. When I do, I tell y'all I reached out to them if a story is viral and I want to know the truth. But no, I don't typically do that. And I hear somebody that's asking me about Manasseh.
I heard about that too. He kind of disappeared in the wind. Like, what happened with Manasseh?
Well, I spoke concerning that. I told them this before. I said, if y'all hear me not discuss something and just move away from, that means I know people are in conversation. So my work is complete. I don't know what comes of that, apologies, counseling, or even payoffs. But I don't know what comes of that.
Do you think Manasseh will ever come and discuss it again? Because the people want to know.
Well, he's not going to have a choice now because I'm sure Duane, that's going to be the first person Duane is going to subpoena.
Yeah, I thought about that too. He'll be on the witness list.
And let's just hope that, oh Jesus, that would be horrible. What that would be horrible if he subpoena him and we find out something we don't want to know. And that
Well, I mean, at this point, I think Jakes is vehemently denying every allegation. He said folks is lying on him and he's not going to be bullied. That's basically what his lawsuit is about. So now he gets to prove, he gets to show, he gets to prove it. So anything, we going to know who the liars are and we going to know who's not lying. And this is what this lawsuit has done. So we thank you, Jakes.
We're also going to know
about everybody.
We're going to know what. Okay, let me ask you this, Pam. What would you think about someone? Let's suppose where there is a guy.
This is all a hypothetical, there. We just gonna do hypothetical.
Yeah, we're just gonna do hypothetical.
Okay.
Hypothetical. Okay.
Okay.
Look, Pam is really being a lawyer right now. So
shoot, I got a lot of land and stuff. I don't need nobody putting no liens on my stuff.
Okay, if somebody takes payment after they have, let's suppose, if they take payment from Jakes. Does that mean that, do we look at them as someone who really was after the money, or do we look at them as someone who deserved to get the money because of what he did to them?
So I think, generally speaking, because I don't have any facts, period, it's just a hype out.
Right.
So I'm gonna say, generally speaking, I think that most attorneys try to resolve things short of litigation. That is a common practice of most civil attorneys, because civil litigation can get really expensive. I spent upwards to $100,000 just trying to run a case, and you may or may not win the case. You know what I'm saying? At the end, when you take it on a contingency basis. So you try to resolve it as much as possible and have that. So that doesn't necessarily mean that they're just for a money grab. It may be they don't want their name out there. Why do you think people come out as Jane Doe and John Doe? If they can just get rid of it, period, they don't even want to put their name on a lawsuit, let alone because they know it's a public document. So I don't think we should automatically assume that, and you shouldn't automatically assume that every lawyer is just trying to be grimy. Are there grimy attorneys? Absolutely. There's grimy attorneys. There's some attorneys that I've seen since I've been covering a lot of this stuff. And I'm like, what? Did they read the rules of professional responsibility? That they have ethics issues and they're all about money. You know what I'm saying? And I always say the problem is a lot of people, they just love money like that they're willing to give. And you're supposed to love people and use money. You're not supposed to use people and love money.
Oh, that's a word.
That's what the problem is.
Oh my God.
So yeah, in any situation you may get that, but do I think we should automatically assume that? No, I don't think so. As an attorney that does demands all the time.
The social intellect is saying this isn't fair, Larry. You weren't there in the trenches when the bishop was broke, preaching with holes in the shoes and no money, and here you show up to eat clout, chasing with no real evidence. Okay, number one, I am the clout. Let's make that very clear. This platform and my name is around the world before any mention of Jakes. That's number one. Already a millionaire before Jakes even mentioned Jakes' name. That's number one. Number two is I do have evidence of what someone was saying that he did. So all of what you're saying is just off.
Okay. Entrepreneur Hub said if someone was paid off and they get started subpoena, can they talk? After if the court tell them to.
Yep.
So what happens is when you settle anything, you're going to have a settlement agreement. And then I don't care if it's before you even get to court, you're going to have a contract and they're going to deny liability. I'm sure he's never, if there is any settlement agreements, there's not going to be any admissions to anything, because you don't put that in settlement agreements.
Mhm.
But it'll say specifically in it, you're not supposed to talk, you can't disparage my name, you can't say this, you can't say that, you can't spread lies, you can't, it's going to be a lot of what you can't do, but it will tell you that the only way you can talk is if you're ordered by a court of law. I mean, they can't, nobody can try to waive that away. Just like with NDAs, you commit a crime, you can't waive that away. It's the same type of concept. So yeah, you can still get subpoenaed if you know who these individuals are allegedly. This is all alleged, okay? The man said he ain't do nothing, Larry. So I'm just gonna let y'all know the bishop said he ain't do nothing. What'd you say?
I hate that he said that. I hate that he said that.
What is this? I rebuke you. I'm with Larry. You got the right one. I don't worship no man. I worship Jesus Christ. What? What's happening here? Oh, look up. What the hell is this? Oh, VB want to contact you, Larry, because I don't,
Larry and Pam, can I file assault charge? Yes, you can. Remember the lady I interviewed many years ago, and she told the whole story. Then after that, Jakes came to the table and settled with her with $2.5 million.
What?
I think it was.
I missed this whole story,
That
Larry.
happened on my platform in 2018. Anybody in the chat remember that? She ended up getting the money. I interviewed her.
VB, who are you?
It was one of people don't tell this kind of stuff about Larry live.
Oh, he said security. So VB said the security. He not saying Jakes.
That's what happened. The same thing happened to the girl. It was Jake's security though. She sued the father's house and she got $2.5 million.
Was that like the physical fight?
Yep, physical violence.
Told her to get up off of the stage, something like that.
No. This was in the back. Remember that the girl was, I can't think of her name. She was in the back and she had recorded it. Somebody near was recording the assault of the security officer, Jake's security officer. And he pulled her arm and done some crazy stuff to her. And she filed. Yeah, I was there. I was there consulting behind the scene with that whole case. And she got her money.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I remember some lady that was talking about she was told not to get on the stage and do praise and worship or prayer, do something, and then she went to the back and they tried to put her out.
That's it. That's the one. That's the one. Yep.
She got paid for that?
She got paid.
Shoot, I how much you say? No.
It was in the million.
I gotta work hard for $2 million.
I asked her, I said, well, how much are we talking? And she kept, long story short, I ended up figuring it out and she just left it, but it's over $2 million.
I'm sure, but it was settled though, so she can't say what it is.
Yeah, that's right. She can't do it. Exactly that.
Okay, we're just speculating, Jace, because I know you watching. Your attorneys is on it, and they get paid good enough where they watching everything we're saying right now. I understand, because I would be too, because I do the same thing for my clients.
Exactly.
Wow. So yeah, we let you know who this VB person is. I guess they want to. I'm not gonna be like them. Let me head to the courthouse. You know who that is?
What is that?
VB.
I don't know who that is. But if you got pushed, you gonna need some video.
Larry or something about it. Figure it out.
I'm telling you right now what to do. Don't put me in nothing else. Don't put me in
Larry gonna be co-conspirator number 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Larry, you haven't said that there was a crime committed. Your story has legs. Okay, this is clear to somebody that wants my attention because I am not Duane Youngblood. So why are you bothering me? This ain't got nothing. This is their case. It was done from my platform. It's about a crime committed. Your story has legs because of this. What the hell are you talking about?
You was paying attention to these chats because I'm like,
yeah, that's somebody that's wanting attention.
Yeah.
It must be one of your spiritual children. She called the social intellect. She stole part of your name.
I don't claim none of that. I ain't got no kids, but the one that I birthed.
Well, she done stole your name. Must be one of your spiritual daughters.
You know what? You know, I said, damn, time about she about to get physically blocked. People get on here and be talking about I'm prosecutor so and so, and they come with these elaborate stories. I didn't realize people lie this much. YouTube. They
Just lie.
They got all these letters behind their name. Then they start DMing me about stories. They from the FBI and they got intel. I'm like, these people really just lie, trying to hope that you fall for it. So you can be whoever you want on YouTube. I'm really how I am on here is how I am in real life. So it's like I'm not used to all of these personas and these people just making up stuff of who they are. It's like the fantasy they had as a kid. YouTube allows you to just be whoever you want. YouTube needs a special ed section.
They do.
They did that in school. I think they need a side, like you need to go through some type of survey before you can be on here, because some of these are different.
And look at the social internet. I'm going to be following the case, Larry. No worries. And I remember what you said here. I don't need your attention, love. Just when I speak my piece. And I don't have nothing to do. I'm just the platform that tells the story. That lets you know right there. She wants my attention. She'll be doing videos, put my name in the title. These folks weird.
Arguing with people that don't put their whole name out here. They can Google our names, but them your name, your lovely flower 222. Like they're like got the smartest mouths on YouTube. You like, I bless one. I'm so anointed 999.
What's your real name, ho? What's your real name?
All right, now you fooling, okay?
Let me sign off because I know you don't do that over here. I get the cussing.
Thank you, Larry, for coming up. I appreciate it. Get up out of here before you get me in trouble.
Bye.
All right, that was fun. Thank you guys so much for joining. I hope I answered all of your questions. If you like the content, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. I'm really leaving this time. Thank you guys so much for all of the support. I appreciate it so very much.
Have a blessed holiday.
Have a good holiday. I'll talk to you guys later.